The Adidas Supernova Rise and the Puma Velocity Nitro 3. Two shoes that initially I didn't think competed with one another, but the more I looked into them, the more I realized that they actually do. But which one's going to be right for you is going to come down to what you want out of a daily trainer. Spoiler alert for this video, there isn't a winner here. Which one of these two shoes is going to be right for you is going to come down to what you want out of a shoe like this, a more traditional, lower stacked daily trainer. Now, I recently did a 100-mile review of this shoe and a 200-mile review of this shoe, and in those comments, a lot of people were asking, how do these two shoes compare? Which is why I'm doing this video. Because like I said in the intro, initially, I didn't think these two shoes really competed with one another. But as I've been putting this video together, I realized that they really do, and there's a lot more similarities between these two shoes than I ever would have thought there was. And since this is a versus video, let's go over the specs. Starting with the Adidas Supernova Rise, what we have here is 34 mil foam in the heel, 24 mil in the forefoot with a 10 mil drop. The shoe comes in at 9.5 ounces or 268 grams, and again, that's for the US men's size 9 reference size that everyone uses. And these specs are coming from Running Warehouse because they measure shoes across brands consistently, so those are the numbers that I use. Moving to the Puma Velocity Nitro 3, we have actually 36 mil of foam in the heel, 26 mil in the forefoot for the same 10 mil drop, and the shoe weighs 9.5 ounces and 268 grams in the standard US men's size 9 reference size. Now from a spec standpoint, these shoes are a lot more similar than I initially thought they would be. However, there are some differences that you can begin to see here. So with the Supernova Rise, that is using Adidas's Dream Strike Plus foam, which is a new PIBA foam they developed for training specifically with EVA support rods in it. Now, you hear the word rods, you think of the carbon or glass fiber rods in shoes like the Adios Pro 3 or the Boston 12. These are completely different. Think of it as a EVA carrier layer that has cutouts where the PIBA foam can run on the ground. It gives you the nice plushness and cushion of PIBA, but it gives you the structure of a carrier foam like EVA. It's a really nice system. So the ride of the Supernova Rise is very plush and very, very flexible. It is one of the most flexible shoes, especially in this daily trainer category, that I can think of. And there is a slight forefoot rocker, but I would say because this shoe is so flexible that when you're stepping in it and weighting the shoe down, it's more of a traditional geometry. And that's really what I've been calling this shoe. Now, moving to the Puma Velocity Nitro 3, that is using Puma's Nitro foam, which in this shoe is a TPEE foam. Now, Nitro foam has a bunch of different flavors, and I believe all of the newer shoes that are coming out later this year into next year, the Nitro foam that Puma is using is going to be a PIBA-based foam. But the Nitro foam in the Velocity Nitro 3 is the TPEE Nitro foam. And there is a more traditional EVA carrier foam under that Nitro foam. So the Nitro foam is under your foot, and then what's actually between the Nitro foam and the ground is an EVA carrier layer. Very standard across training shoes that are using super foams in them to give that super foam a little bit more stability and take the edge off it a little bit, which is what you want in a training shoe. Now, the Puma Velocity Nitro 3 is a very firm and stable ride, and it does have a mild forefoot rocker, which you do feel because it is such a firm and stable ride. And moving on to the weights of my two pairs of these, starting with the Supernova Rise, we have 267 grams in the left shoe, 265 grams in the right. And then for the Velocity Nitro 3, we have 263 grams in the left and 264 grams in the right. Again, all four of these shoes, the two pairs that I have, they come in under the spec'd weight that Running Warehouse is reporting, and even under the weight that the brands are reporting. So they're very similar in this regard. I would say that, you know, there is a slight advantage in weight to the Velocity Nitro 3, but you're never going to feel that difference. These shoes feel about the same weight on foot. Moving to the outsoles and the contact patch of both these shoes, this is where we begin to see some of the differences. Starting with the Supernova Rise, we have 11.3 centimeters in the widest point in the forefoot, 7.2 in the waist, and 8.4 centimeters in the heel. In the Velocity Nitro 3, we have 10.4 centimeters in the forefoot, we have 6.5 in the waist, and 8.4 centimeters in the heel. Now, from a contact patch standpoint, I will say that the Supernova Rise feels much, much wider. And it is a centimeter wider, almost a centimeter wider, but it's more about the foam and the geometry of this and how flat the outsole rubber actually is in this shoe. Also, the waist of the Supernova Rise is wider, and overall, the outsole of this shoe is much straighter in the Supernova Rise than the Velocity Nitro 3. However, the rubber on the Velocity Nitro 3, the Puma grip rubber, and the pattern of the rubber, I think also make the Velocity Nitro 3 run very differently. It actually feels like there's more rubber on the ground in the Velocity Nitro 3 than it is in the Supernova Rise. Even though the Supernova Rise is completely covered in rubber, the Puma Velocity Nitro 3 just runs like more rubber is on the ground. Part of that is the Puma grip, part of that is the tread pattern. And I will say that the tread pattern of the Velocity Nitro 3 is one of the things that makes it, in my mind, much more versatile off of just road running than the Supernova Rise. And moving on to the fit of these two shoes, I will say both of these shoes are trainers. They have trainer uppers, which means you're going to get a very soft and accommodating fit in both of the uppers. They both have very padded ankle collars, and they both have very padded and rigid heel counters. Now, in the Velocity Nitro 3, the heel counter is actually a lot softer than I initially thought it was, but as you can see, there's a lot of foam that comes up here, and that creates a pocket back here that really locks your heel in. You should have no heel lift issues in this shoe, whereas on the Supernova Rise, you have a very, very stiff heel counter in this shoe. However, it is very well padded, and I've had absolutely no heel lift issues in either one of these shoes. Both of these shoes have very simple and very well thought out eyelet chains. They both give very good lockdown, but I will say one of the differences is this is a very accommodating fit, meaning there's a lot of width in the forefoot and the toe box of this shoe, where this is a much more narrow fit. I have a foot that's neither wide nor narrow, but it is high volume. Neither one of these shoes give me any troubles for any amount of running. Again, I have over 100 miles in this and over 200 miles in this. I've had absolutely zero problems from discomfort or heel lift or any sort of lace bite from locking these two shoes down. But I will say that this is a slightly narrower shoe. And for what I want out of this shoe, because this shoe is a little bit more versatile, which I'll get to, I appreciate that slightly tighter fit. Still a trainer fit, but it's just a little bit tighter. There's a little less volume, especially width in this shoe. Now, both these shoes are available in wide models. Now, I can't imagine how wide the wide of the Supernova Rise would actually be, because this is already a very generous fit. My advice would be, if you have a foot that is kind of wide, but generally you can squeeze into a standard width shoe, you're going to be totally fine in this shoe. This shoe is going to feel tight, but you probably still should be okay in this shoe. But if you actually have a wide foot where you generally run in wide shoes, you still may be able to get away with this shoe in a standard width, but you're definitely going to want a wide version of this shoe. Moving to the ride, this is where the differences between these two shoes becomes very apparent. Starting with the Supernova Rise, I would consider this a cushioned daily trainer. Specifically, this is the type of shoe I'm going to reach for the majority of my weekly mileage. All of those easy runs, long runs, maybe some slightly faster tempo running, this is the shoe I'm going to reach for, because the Dream Strike Plus foam, the PIBA-based foam in here that Adidas developed for training, is very cushioned, very plush, and it's a very, very flexible shoe that's very cushioned and just very comfortable to run in all of those road miles or kilometers that you need to do on a weekly basis. That's where this shoe excels. All of that road running that you need to do. And moving to the Velocity Nitro 3, I consider this more of an all-arounder daily trainer. Now, it can do all of the same stuff that the Supernova Rise can do, but I think additionally this shoe has a little bit more versatility, because this shoe will do workouts, whether they're road or track. This is a shoe I would actually bring for a track workout of really any distance. Additionally, this shoe is very happy to do tempo and threshold running, and it will do long runs, and I think you could probably race in this shoe, where with the Supernova Rise, I wouldn't necessarily ever bring this for a workout, though I have done workouts in this shoe and it does them, which is why I still consider this a daily trainer, but it's not going to be the shoe I'm going to reach for that. Tempo and threshold running, it does it again okay, but I think the additional firmness of this shoe and the resiliency of the foam, of the TPE Nitro foam in this shoe, I think give this shoe a little bit of an edge for that faster running where you're really putting a lot of force into the ground. Where this shoe, I think, just works better for all of that easy running. This is a shoe to very comfortably run easy, run slow in, where this shoe, you can do that easy, slow running in, but this shoe wants to go faster. So for an easy run shoe, I want a cushion daily trainer. And for an all-around daily trainer, I want this shoe where I can do everything and a little bit more. And that's why there really isn't a verdict here. It really comes down to what is your expectation for a daily trainer. If a daily trainer is to you a shoe for volume running per week, all the easy runs, maybe a long run, just getting the volume in and mostly easy running, this is going to be the best option because this is just a very comfortable, very cushioned shoe that just eats up all those miles or kilometers. It is exceptional at easy running, which again should be the bulk of your running mileage per week. But if your expectation of a daily trainer is a little bit more and you want a shoe to kind of do a little bit of everything, the Velocity Nitro 3 can do all of the easy runs, all of the long runs, can do the volume that the Supernova Rise can, but additionally, this shoe can do a lot of workouts. You can do the interval workouts in this shoe. You could do tempo threshold workouts. It's going to do that really well. And if you're really a minimalist, you could even race in this shoe. Definitely 5, 10Ks, maybe even a half marathon, because you're getting a super foam in here. You're getting a great supercritical TPE foam in this Nitro foam, and this is going to work really well. Additionally, because of the outsole on this shoe, this is a great road to trail option. And depending on what type of trail that you run on, this may be a really valid trail shoe for a lot of people. Because this outsole is so good and this platform is firm enough to protect you from rocks and all that sort of technical terrain, this shoe does really, really well. Again, especially as a road to trail option. So the versatility of this shoe is just absolutely outstanding. And as much as I love the Supernova Rise, I mean, I really, really love this shoe. The Supernova Rise is just one of a family of supernovas. And while the Supernova Rise is the flagship of the Supernova family, there's also the Supernova Solution, which is a mild stability option. There's the Supernova Stride, which is a budget or entry-level option. And there's the Supernova Prima, which is a max cushion or really an enhanced forefoot cushioning. It's a max cushion shoe really made for mid and forefoot strikers specifically. And as you see from a spec standpoint, they're all kind of the same, but they're just tuned a little bit differently. So finding the right Supernova for you will be pretty easy with these 4 options. And honestly, I think the best answer to which one of these is better is that it's both. I don't necessarily see these shoes as really competing head to head. Yes, they're both daily trainers. Yes, you can use them as daily trainers, as I have explained, but I actually think these shoes complement one another really well. This is that broader, versatile all-arounder. This is that cushioned trainer that you can use on those days where you need a little bit more TLC for your feet and legs, or you're going to do a longer run. It's just nice to be able to rotate between 2 shoes like this, the all-arounder and the cushioned all-arounder. And sticking within the Adidas family specifically, this is where I think the new Adizero SL2 is going to fit with the Supernova Rise. I think you could swap the SL2 out with the Velocity Nitro 3 as your very versatile all-around trainer. Now, I haven't run in the SL2, and I don't think it's going to do as well on trails as the Velocity Nitro 3, but I think it's going to be a very versatile all-arounder that's going to pair very nicely with the Supernova Rise or any Supernova that you want in the Supernova family for that more cushioned experience. So again, I don't think this is going to be an either or. I think you're going to want to have both of these to be able to rotate 2 trainers and have the best of all worlds. So it's an exciting time for daily trainers, especially if you prefer, like me, not having max stack, max cushion, max rocker, max everything for every one of your runs as a daily trainer. If you like a more traditional lower stack shoe, there's a ton of great options. Now, there's a couple other options I didn't mention in this video that I will be doing reviews of in the coming weeks, and there'll be a lot more versus videos getting into the weeds of all of these options that we have for amazing daily trainers. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. If you find this content useful, consider subscribing. You'll see more content from me pop up in your feed. If not, drop a like on this video because it helps this channel continue to grow, which I always appreciate. And with that, I'll catch you in the next one.